The Middle East, a land of breathtaking deserts, fertile valleys, and ancient history. This region, often referred to as the cradle of civilization, has been home to some of the most influential cultures and societies in human history. From the ancient Mesopotamians who invented writing to the Egyptians who built the pyramids, the Middle East has always been a center of human achievement and innovation. It is a region that has witnessed the rise and fall of empires, the birth of civilizations, and the creation of monumental architectural wonders. The ruins of these ancient empires, from Babylon to Persia, tell stories of grandeur and glory, of conquests and cultural exchanges that shaped the world as we know it today. And it is here in this land of ancient beauty that the dawn of major religions took place. Judaism, Christianity, and Islam all trace their roots back to this region, making it a spiritual heartland for billions of people around the globe. The religious landmarks and artifacts found here are not just relics of the past, but living symbols of faith and devotion that continue to inspire and guide people today. Yet, for all its beauty and cultural richness, the Middle East today is synonymous with conflict, instability, and human suffering. The modern history of the region is marred by wars, political upheaval, and humanitarian crises. The images of urban damage and the plight of refugees are stark reminders of the ongoing struggles that many in the region face daily. From the ashes of the Ottoman Empire to the rise of modern nation-states, the region has grappled with the ghosts of its past. The fall of the Ottoman Empire after World War I led to a power vacuum and the creation of new borders, often drawn without consideration for the complex ethnic and religious makeup of the region. This has led to a century of conflict and tension as new nations struggled to find their identity and place in the world. One such ghost is the Sykes-Picot Agreement, a secret pact signed during the First World War that continues to cast a long shadow over the region's present. This agreement, made in secret by European powers, divided the Ottoman territories into spheres of influence with little regard for the people who lived there. The arbitrary borders drawn by the Sykes-Picot Agreement have been a source of tension and conflict ever since. This agreement, inked in the midst of global conflict, redrew the map of the Middle East with little regard for the region's complex tapestry of ethnicities, religions, and tribal allegiances. The new borders often split communities and forced together groups with long histories of rivalry and mistrust. This has led to a century of conflict, as these artificial borders have been contested and redrawn through wars and uprisings. It is a story of colonial ambition, broken promises, and the unintended consequences of drawing lines on a map. The legacy of colonialism in the Middle East is one of division and strife, as the borders drawn by foreign powers have often failed to reflect the realities on the ground. The region's modern history is a testament to the enduring impact of these decisions as the people of the Middle East continue to navigate the challenges of a world shaped by the actions of a century ago. Despite these challenges, the Middle East is also a region of resilience and hope. Modern cities rise from the desert, blending ancient traditions with cutting-edge technology. Cultural festivals celebrate the rich heritage of the region, while young innovators and entrepreneurs are driving change and progress. The story of the Middle East is not just one of conflict and division, but also of creativity, perseverance, and the enduring human spirit. The people of the Middle East, with their diverse backgrounds and shared history, continue to shape the future of their region. From bustling markets to quiet villages, from ancient traditions to modern innovations, the Middle East is a land of contrasts and contradictions, but also of incredible beauty and potential. As we look to the future, it is important to remember the lessons of the past and to work towards a more peaceful and prosperous Middle East for all its inhabitants. To understand the roots of the Middle East's modern turmoil, we must travel back to the early 20th century, a time of great upheaval and transformation. The region was a mosaic of cultures, languages, and religions, all under the dominion of a once mighty empire. The Ottoman Empire, once a formidable power stretching across 3 continents, was in its death throes. For centuries, it had been a beacon of strength and cultural richness, but by the early 1900s, it was struggling to maintain its vast territories and diverse populations. World War I raged across Europe, drawing in the Ottoman Empire on the side of Germany and the Central Powers. The war brought unprecedented destruction and chaos, reshaping borders and alliances. The Ottoman soldiers fought bravely, but the empire's resources were stretched thin. As the war dragged on, two European powers, Great Britain and France, saw an opportunity to advance their own interests in the crumbling Ottoman territories. They were not just fighting a war, they were also plotting the future of the Middle East, driven by ambitions of expanding their colonial empires. In the utmost secrecy, they began negotiating a plan to divide the spoils of war. These discussions were shrouded in mystery, conducted behind closed doors, away from the prying eyes of the public and even many of their own government officials. This secret pact, negotiated between British diplomat Sir Mark Sykes and his French counterpart, François-Georges Picot, would have far-reaching consequences for the Middle East. The Sykes-Picot Agreement, as it came to be known, drew arbitrary lines on the map, dividing the region into spheres of influence that ignored the complex tapestry of ethnic and religious groups living there. The agreement laid the groundwork for future conflicts as it sowed seeds of division and resentment among the local populations. The new borders created by Sykes and Picot did not reflect the realities on the ground, leading to decades of strife and instability. Today, the legacy of the Sykes-Picot Agreement is still felt across the Middle East. The arbitrary borders drawn over a century ago continue to influence the political landscape, contributing to ongoing conflicts and shaping the region's modern history. Understanding this secret pact is crucial to comprehending the complexities and challenges that the Middle East faces today. Signed in May 1916, the Sykes-Picot Agreement was a classic example of European colonialism. This secret arrangement between Britain and France, with the assent of Russia, aimed to divide the vast territories of the crumbling Ottoman Empire into zones of influence and control. The agreement was named after its negotiators, Sir Mark Sykes of Britain and François-Georges Picot of France. It carved up the Ottoman territories into spheres of influence, disregarding the complex tapestry of ethnicities, religions, and cultures that had coexisted for centuries. The lines drawn on the map were arbitrary, reflecting the colonial power's interests rather than the realities on the ground. France gained control over what is now Syria and Lebanon, establishing a mandate that would shape the political landscape of the region for decades. The French influence extended into the cultural and administrative aspects of these territories, leaving a lasting legacy. Meanwhile, Britain secured control over Palestine, Transjordan, modern-day Jordan, and areas of Mesopotamia that would later become Iraq. The British mandate in these regions was marked by significant political maneuvering and the establishment of new governance structures. The agreement was a masterpiece of cartographic cynicism, drawn with little regard for the existing ethnic and religious demographics of the region. The artificial borders created by Sykes-Picot ignored the historical and social complexities, leading to long-term instability. It divided communities, lumped together disparate groups with long histories of animosity, and disrupted the social fabric of the region. Families and tribes found themselves on opposite sides of new borders, creating tensions that would simmer for years. The seeds of future conflicts were sown as the arbitrary lines drawn by colonial powers failed to account for the deep-rooted historical, ethnic, and religious divisions. The legacy of the Sykes-Picot Agreement is still felt today, as the Middle East continues to grapple with the consequences of these colonial decisions. The Sykes-Picot Agreement's legacy is most clearly seen in the artificial borders that were imposed on the Middle East. These borders, drawn with the stroke of a pen in distant European capitals, paid little heed to the realities on the ground. The result was the creation of states that lacked internal cohesion and often found themselves at odds with their neighbors. The arbitrary nature of these borders is a major factor behind the instability that continues to plague the region today. Section 5. The Kurdish plight, a nation divided. Perhaps no group has felt the sting of the Sykes-Picot Agreement more acutely than the Kurds. The Kurds, an ancient ethnic group with a distinct language and culture, found themselves divided across Turkey, Syria, Iraq, and Iran. Denied a state of their own, the Kurds have faced decades of discrimination, persecution, and violence. Their struggle for self-determination remains one of the most intractable issues in the Middle East. Section 6. Sectarianism and the Politics of Identity. The artificial borders imposed by the Sykes-Picot Agreement also exacerbated sectarian tensions in the Middle East. By lumping together different religious and ethnic groups within the same state boundaries, the agreement created fertile ground for sectarianism and identity politics. This is particularly evident in countries like Iraq and Syria, where the post-colonial order has struggled to accommodate the aspirations of diverse groups like Sunnis, Shias, Kurds, and Christians. Section 7. A legacy of conflict and intervention. The aftermath of the Sykes-Picot Agreement has been a long and turbulent journey for the Middle East. Foreign interventions, internal conflicts, and power struggles have left indelible marks on the region. From the rise and fall of regimes to the ongoing battles for control, the legacy of this agreement continues to shape the geopolitical landscape. Section 8. Hope endures amidst the ruins. Despite the many challenges and conflicts, the spirit of resilience and hope remains strong in the Middle East. Communities strive for peace, understanding, and a better future. Grassroots movements, cultural renaissance, and efforts for reconciliation offer glimpses of a brighter tomorrow. The journey is far from over, but hope endures.